Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. In this video we have an interview with a woman named Deb who, as I explained, I kind of plucked from the Afterlife Topics group because she had a bunch of remarkable stories. She's not like a professional psychic or public speaker. She's a bit shy on camera, but I wanted to bring her in anyway to the Patreon subscriber group for people who donate and keep the channel going. We have the private discussion group, so I wanted to bring her in there and do a video because she's had a lot of fascinating experiences that line up with everything else we talk about here. In particular, consistent experiences with consistent information. I think the most interesting being having real, solid physical environments and also demonstrating just how real and tangible the other side is. When you have experiences over there, we expect it to be something that is impossible to describe, something beyond words, something that is, of a multi-dimensional level that is completely alien to this world. Maybe some of that's true in some experiences, but for a lot of people it's not. And it may be surprising to appear on that side, for example, with a deceased spouse, a deceased child, a relative, and find that you're in a world that is on the surface just like this one. And that was her experience and her discovery, which seemed to have really surprised her until her husband passed away, and then she started having some experiences appearing on that side as physical as this world is. And that's a tough thing to swallow, and it's a tough thing to believe, and maybe even would have been for me until I've had my own experiences that matched hers. And now I've talked to dozens, if not hundreds of people who have also had their own experiences like this on the other side. Now, Deb's interesting because actually she's had a variety of experiences, whether that's 2 near-death experiences, astral projection trips, clairaudient mediumship ability, electronic voice communication, all of that, which has come very naturally for her. She's very lucky, but all of it's consistent. So as you'll hear in the interview, I'm asking about the near-death experiences and if there's a major difference between that and the astral experience, because sometimes I think this kind of silly argument comes up on the forums that OBEs and NDEs are completely different animals, but really they're not. And I illustrated this a few videos back when I was talking about the NDE misconceptions, that if you read a lot of NDEs, they can really line up with the typical experiences on the other side, on this astral earth, which is a replica of this world. And of course, I always add the caveat, you can go way beyond that world and into realms, like I said, beyond imagination. But at the very least, a lot of people do report this kind of second earth that is very much a real place. And so when you appear there, it's not drastically different. And that's almost often the most confusing thing. It's like, is this the afterlife? Is it a parallel reality? Where am I? But then you'll notice that the people you meet there are very often deceased people from here who speak in no uncertain terms that this is where they came to when they crossed over. It is the so-called spirit world, which again, it's as solid as this place is. So the other thing that's interesting is that I asked some questions about kind of the terminologies. Do they call their world the astral world? What do they call this world? And that part of the interview is really interesting because it lines up exactly with what I've discovered asking people on that side the same questions. So I always love to get that consistent info from people who otherwise wouldn't know, and then verifying that. So there's a lot of consistency. So when when different people have astral experiences and ask questions of people or observe details, often you can line those up and it makes sense, demonstrating that we're talking about a consistent other world. For example, when I was having a beer with Jürgen Ziva in a pub in England last summer, I suppose, so it was like last fall, really, last September, I think, we were discussing some of the details of that side, and we both found out that we had came to the same conclusions about the money and economic systems that people use over there, the way that dollar bills are like tokens of gratitude. Basically, like, we discovered the same things by asking people on that side the same questions, as well as many other people that I've talked to, dozens, if not hundreds of people that I've talked to at this point, who have had these same types of experiences. So this is it's very interesting stuff, and many people have experiences like this, and they don't even reveal it to the public. And that's also why I like to bring in people sometimes who are like that, just normal people who have these experiences. That being said, it's also really nice to hear that yes, you can have a solid, physical, tangible relationship with a deceased father, mother, husband, wife, if you're lucky enough and you've been able to break through that barrier and um, be able to make contact like Deb has. It's not everybody, but it's some people out there, and you can have a continued relationship with somebody, and including actual physical encounters. And one of the more surprising things is the idea of tangible physical evidence, like a mark on your body that comes from your ADC encounter or even comes from an astral experience. Imagine having a sensation on when you're having an astral projection experience, and then you wake back up, come back to this reality, and you still feel that sensation. So she has kind of a funny story related to that about her daughter that you listen to on this interview. But that's another very interesting unexplored area, which is having like physical effects on your body here because of an effect on your body there, which also calls into question how far apart are these worlds? Are we much closer to that world than we think? And that's some food for thought, I suppose. But anyway, so I just wanted to do that preamble before we began. Again, Deb's a little bit bashful, so that's just something to keep in mind when you watch this. But then I think her confidence on camera picks up as we get going. And yeah, it's an interesting conversation. Wanted to put it out there on YouTube so you guys can enjoy it. And I'll see you guys real soon. Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. So we have a special guest tonight here in the Afterlife University patron meetup, and it's Deb. So Deb is a mental medium out of all places, Sherwood Forest in Nottingham, UK. Let me know if I'm getting that right. I'm sure most people
Yeah,
know about that location. And
Robin Hood.
she has had many fascinating experiences with kind of a continued family on the astral side, including her husband who passed away fighting in the Iraq War in 2004. But really, I'd like to turn it over to Deb so that she can tell her story. But first, how are you doing? I know it's 1 a.m. here in Philippines, but I know it's like 6 p.m. there.
It's,
How's your
it's five
evening going?
past. It's 6 in the evening here. We look like we're going to have a massive thunderstorm.
Ah, well, I'm quite a fan of thunderstorms. We've
I
had some
love
here in
thunderstorms.
Philippines, and it's the
Yeah,
only time that it gets cool at all. Otherwise, it's an inferno out
it's
here
hot and
in
humid.
Southeast Asia. But
Yeah,
right on. So yeah, so it was great for you to come on and join us. I kind of plucked you out of the group because, aside from being a medium, you have I think really incredible stories about basically the other side, like we talk about here, in particular the astral side. So with
yeah.
that being said, I'd like to kind of turn it over to you. Maybe you can introduce us a little bit about um, how these experiences basically with like your astral family and how that got going on that side, and your husband. Maybe just kind of tell us what happened, and maybe a couple of stories as well that you feel are worth sharing.
Now let me think. This has been going on since after he died, after he was killed. He was shot many a times and then shot in the head. He showed me through a vision how he died, which wasn't very, very nice. He does suffer, even though he's on that side, he does suffer with PTSD. Um, Let me think. I can hear him, smell him, feel him, and he lives here in this house with my second husband and his son. Um, that's it at the moment.
Well, I mean,
It
but
happened
but
the
but you
other
but you,
day.
but when was the first astral experiences? Because aside from him coming into the house, you've been sharing with us a lot of these really cool experiences that you've been having or had been having with him over a long time. Where as well as, well, I believe with your daughter. So can you tell us a little bit about these astral experiences
Oh, let me
and
think.
when they started?
They started, oh, 2 or 3 years ago. They started. I've been doing, as you call it, UBIs for quite a long time.
Out of body experiences, OBEs, yeah.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, because I used to be able to float myself to the ceiling and look at my body while I was asleep, just float around the ceiling and then go back into my body. I used to be able to do that. The astral experiences have been happening, oh, 4 or 5 years now. I feel the visits are, it's the same as here. If I try to explain, I seem to end up in his childhood house, which is in Keighley, Yorkshire. I could describe the house to a T. It's interesting. Excuse me. I'm very nervous.
Oh no,
So
it's okay. It's okay, Deb.
and plus having other person in the house who doesn't believe.
Oh
Uh,
my. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That can
uh,
really that can add a lot of undue pressure. In fact, I think Barbara, you know a couple things about that, right? It can really add undue pressure when there's someone around you who like
yeah,
they may be eavesdropping, and then you're like,
yeah,
well, what do I say that I don't want to sound um
I go through that with my husband. I understand completely.
I'm not the only one.
No, not at all.
okay, well, how about this? Let's see. So maybe you can just
Go on.
talk about the because you've shared really really interesting things with the group and also personally. And what I'm really interested in is like basically you've talked to me about how you've been having astral experiences where it's just like this world basically, and it's your first husband is there as well
I
as
can tell
a
you about dinner
daughter.
dance.
Yes. Okay. So maybe, yeah, tell us about that story. How it began, how it all happened, and
I got
how you felt
ta-
afterward.
I got taken to what obviously was an army dinner dance. Um, I can describe myself. I was wearing a blue dress, very tight-fitting blue dress. Um, he was wearing a dark black suit with an electric green shirt and a black tie. The meal we had was chicken and white wine sauce with mushrooms, mashed potato and green beans. We had a pint of Tetley beer each. I wasn't very good at dancing, but he seemed to lead, which was quite nice. The dinner dance seemed to go on for about, as you say, there's no time in that side, but it felt like a couple of hours. And then we got on, seemed to be the back of his motorbike, and drove to the family home, and it went from there.
Was this like a replica of this part of the UK? Would you say it was like the
Yeah,
same
it
world, or
is.
what? So what's going on
No,
with that? Because the afterlife, it's supposed to be like people in white robes and floating around
no,
and
no,
uh, and
no,
balls of light. How is it different
no.
from all your from your
It's
experiences?
it just seemed to be the same as here.
And well, to what extent was it the same? Like, and what was different?
Exactly, exactly. Apart from no crime, no danger, no nothing.
Mhm.
Perfectly normal.
And
Felt comfortable.
so would you describe this as like what they call like the astral plane?
Yeah,
And it was like the astral version of this part of the UK.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but would you say that was there any like differences in like the geography of the terrain or anything like this that you notice?
No, you could see traffic. You could see cars. You could see road signs. Exactly the same.
And So, okay, so how do you respond? Like a skeptic might say, well, all experiences there, it has to be like surrealistic, or it has to be in non-physical, or, why would there be cars in an afterlife if you can just teleport around? Do we have any ideas like, why the environment would be so much like this world? Which, by the way, is also my experiences as well.
I don't know, but everybody else's experiences are entirely different, as you know.
Mhm.
Not all experiences are the same.
And so, but when you have these experiences on that side, you told me that you will sometimes like have an effect on this side when the experience ends or you wake up. Can you tell us a little about that? It's
Are
like
we
a
talking
physical,
about
like a physical effect on your body,
physical
or
feeling? Yeah, feel
yeah.
like you're being jolted back into your body.
But I mean, you'll have like a physical effect, like actually a sensation or a smell or something that carries over from
Yeah,
that side.
I could
So
smell.
how does that work?
Um, when I woke up in the morning, I found bite marks on my neck. Um,
But like love bites from
yeah, yeah,
your
yeah,
from your
yeah, yeah.
husband. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Bruises. Yeah,
So like your husband, you were like basically making out, for lack of a better term, and
yeah. That's better.
yes, is that
Yeah,
is,
and
is that right?
evidence. You
A-
could
a-
smell. You could smell it.
And so like he was biting your neck a bit, and
Yeah, and
then
beer burn, red face.
uh-huh, and you woke up and you had those physical marks, correct?
Yeah, look in the mirror.
Mhm.
Friend of mine who's a medium, when I had a reading, she looked at me, turned the video on. We were doing FaceTime. She looked at me. She said, "Oh my God, you've got beer burn." I said, "Yeah."
So it's all carried over from that side. So do you want to go ahead and, I know it's gross, but what about the kind of poop story? But to
Oh
backtrack though, you had an infant daughter on that side. Is that
she's
correct?
she was just turning 2 and she was being potty trained.
And
We
so
were in.
let's back up. So this was from a miscarriage. Is that correct?
Yeah,
And so after that miscarriage happened, you began having astral experiences with a daughter who was,
yeah,
going from that point of being a baby and then growing up. Is that right?
yeah, yeah.
And
She's 2 now.
so you began having astral experiences. So what was this poop story?
Right. I was taken to the house, um, actually driven on the back of a motorbike through the Yorkshire Dales to Keighley. Um, and we went to the house, and Grace, her name, was in the kitchen learning to potty train. She missed the potty and pooped on the kitchen floor. I went to get some kitchen roll, but ended up picking the poop up with my hand and plopping it into the potty. Went upstairs to the bathroom, plopped the poop from the potty into the toilet, flushed the toilet, washed my hands, came back downstairs. He was washing her in the sink when I came downstairs, and then we started having a water fight. The daughter wanted a hug, so we hugged as a 3-way hug, and then woke up from where asleep, and I had the smell of poop on my hand. Still
Ba-
smell.
back in this reality, you wake up from
Yeah,
the astral experience and then you still have the smell in
on
your hand.
my hand. Yeah,
So that's very interesting. and
weird.
and I suppose people are wondering, like, why would anyone be pooping on the other side? But again, we're going back to those weirdnesses, right?
Yeah, eat, sleep, poop, everything. They do the same.
So my question for you, because you are a practicing mental medium, were you
Yeah,
aware that there was like people doing such physical things on that side before you had the astral experiences, or is it something that was
no,
like a revelation
no,
to you?
It's just a revelation. It was a complete utter shock.
So what was your feeling? What was your impression before you had the astral experiences?
Freaked out.
Like, what did you think that the afterlife was like before you had the experiences?
At the time, I didn't think it would actually exist.
Ah, so even
Yeah, bit
despite
like
having
you.
so even despite like having like the mental mediumship abilities, like part of
Yeah,
you was
I
kind of
didn't.
part of you was actually
I
skeptical
thought
that it
I
was.
was. It would have been a nutcase.
So even though like so you were kind of questioning your own like like whether even though you had mediumship abilities, like half of you was like, well, this is probably not really anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. The same as you.
Right, yeah, that is similar. Although I wasn't, for me, it wasn't mediumship, but I did have begin having the OBEs, and then but then you began having these astral experiences, and then you discovered it was like weirdly similar to this world.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I wanted to bring you on, excuse me, and have a chance to hear your story,
Yeah.
because it was I think this is one of those interesting things that people grapple with when they're like begin having astral experiences and tangible experiences on this side, because they're often very surprised like how normal, solid, physical, and like this world, the astral world is. And so
Yeah.
that's been my same experience as well. Although, like you did mention, though, you noticed that there was a difference in time. Like, this is a commonly reported thing. So you felt like there was like a timelessness when you were there.
No, I didn't notice any time. No.
So it's like you just weren't paying attention, or there wasn't a clock, or
Tension. Yeah, not paying.
it was like an attention thing. So there wasn't like a pressure or an awareness. It's like, this much time has
No, I
passed. Yeah.
didn't. It was nice. I didn't want to. I didn't want to come back.
Yeah. Right. And so I got to ask. So, are you still having astral experiences?
I haven't had one in a while. No.
I see. What about your mediumship? Have these things ever like connected? Like you might be having an astral experience, and then that relates to your mediumship in some way, or vice versa. Like you have a like you have a experience with somebody that you've been able to communicate with, like with the mediumship.
My mediumship is 24/7.
Ah, okay. So
I
it's
can talk to him. I can talk to him 24/7.
so okay. So you could talk to. Can you talk to? I mean, others besides your first husband?
I talk to him. I talk to my guides, my dad, my granddad, my other granddad, my nan, my uncles, all my family.
Ah, okay. And when you communicate, like I know it's really difficult to describe sometimes, but is it like a clairaudient, like you hear the voice, or is it impressions?
Yeah. They talk normal.
Oh,
It's
so
like talking normal in the room. Yeah, as I say, all I can say is I can't see, but I can hear, sense, and smell.
okay, but you can hear them, you can sense them, you can smell them,
Yeah,
and actually hear them speaking like in
yeah,
English, like in
yeah.
English voice. And so all the time, so it's like you don't even have to be like asleep or half asleep
No,
or anything. It just comes, it
no,
just always turned on.
no.
And uh, I got to ask, so after you had these experiences with your first husband, were you able to are you still with us, Deb? Everything okay?
Say that again.
Are you still with us? Everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay. After you had those experiences with your first husband, were you able to verify through like communicating with him through your mediumship that it was like really him? Like, did he talk about like the dance you went to or anything like that?
Yes, I have physical evidence of photographs, the EVPs using just an old-fashioned digital voice recorder, not apps, as you were talking about in your book. like the Echo Box.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's probably better to use old-fashioned way.
Yeah, I use a good old-fashioned digital voice recorder, or I have a very, very old tape one, and it comes through on that.
So using EVP, and were you able, like, so has he said anything to like verify any of your experiences, like together?
Yes,
Like, yeah, is like he's
yes,
like you had an astral experience, and then he says, "Do you remember when
yes,
we did this?" Yes. So
yes,
so it's all tied together. So the mediumship, the EVP, and the astral experiences, like you can say
yes,
they're all linked. So it's like, it's the same. It's really him in all
yeah.
these levels.
Uh,
Good. Okay. That's a good point to know, because I think people struggling with this information, they sometimes might think like, well, how do we know that wasn't you in some parallel Earth reality? And then the mediumship is someone different, and the EVP is someone different. Like I get that question a lot from people. Like, is it really the same?
yeah, the only time I use a recorder is to actually double check what I heard,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because it was on the 6th of June, it was my wedding anniversary. I would have been married to him for 16 years. We would have been together for 26 years.
I see.
But I used my voice recorder to wish him happy anniversary, and he wished me happy anniversary back.
And so it's a continued relationship.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice for anyone who's lost their wives or husbands, but maybe they haven't had astral experiences, or they are
Just
not
keep
mediums? What do you think?
all I can say is just keep talking to them. They listen to you. Never give up. Practice mediumship. Practice meditation and use binaural beats. It will open your chakra points, especially your clairaudient one, because that's what happened to me.
Wow, actually, that's really good advice. So what kind of got the ball rolling for you with like these experiences was actually binaural beats?
Yes, the earth frequencies opens up your chakra point. My guide is a Buddhist Tibetan monk. He was my teacher from a previous life in the 17th century.
Wow, okay. And so he's the one who directed you to begin listening to the
Directed me
binaural
to
beats.
using binaural beats
Okay, and where did you find the binaural beats? Like on the internet, or?
through YouTube.
Simple enough, right? And anyone can just do that and go on YouTube. Now, how are you implementing them? Was it like while you were sleeping, or while you were awake, or?
This is a bit personal, but when I did a couple of days ago, I was doing meditation without any binaural beats, and I had an image of him appear in my head. He was teasing me, completely stark naked, sitting on a chair with a cloth covered over his crotch, and he was
Aha.
saying, "I'm teasing you."
Okay, fair enough. And so so do you still use binaural beats?
Yes, I do it every day. My guide tells me to meditate every single day for 15 minutes.
Because when I use the binaural beats, but I unfortunately I'm able to have a lot of experiences naturally coming out of sleep states, but the binaural beats kind of give me a headache, and I'm wondering if I need to like start using them again possibly, or try
Your
again.
headaches sound like clairvoyance coming in.
Oh, really? So that might be an actual effect happening. Because for me, I was
Yeah,
like, I was just feeling, the, like the womp 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 on my different hemispheres or whatever, and then I'd stop the binaural beats. I'd be kind of like, feel like I need to take an aspirin
they're
or something.
all I find is they're very therapeutic, because I got diagnosed last year with Parkinson's disease, early stages of Parkinson's disease, and I got told by spirit before that.
Oh, okay. And so this is assisting with that.
Yeah,
Well, that's
like
but
binaural beats. My neurologist, when I went back to see him, because they're going to have to prescribe me with pills, but I've said to him, my neurologist says, how are you dealing with this? I says, well, I'm using meditation and binaural beats. And he says, that's fantastic because it actually works.
That's really
It
good.
blocks
That's really
neuropath.
good. I'm sorry, it blocks what?
It blocks the neural patterns in the brain, which stops causing the shakes.
Wow, that's really exciting, actually. So, so your doctor knew about that, and that, have there been any
Yeah.
studies about that yet, or is it still kind of like new?
No, he's
It's
very proud of me. I've got to go and see him again next year.
so it's kind of cutting edge, but there hasn't been any actual studies to look at about how that affects Parkinson's disease.
No.
But he just knows from like people's experiences that it helps.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it's really good advice, especially if anyone's listening who maybe has a loved one or possibly has a Parkinson's diagnosis. It's really easy to find binaural beats, and I suppose it can also help with opening up as Deb was saying, opening up a chakra and being able to get the ball rolling with some of these astral experiences.
Everybody has the gifts, they just don't use them.
Yeah,
you're born with them.
And how come some people have such a difficult time like breaking through and finally?
I don't know. I think it may be their egos not listening to spirit. Materialist.
Could it also be because some people who are very much not materialist, maybe not even having any ego issues, but they have a very difficult time just breaking through and finally having like a mediumship experience or astral experience? Do you know any other factors that could be causing that?
Best advice is never give up. Continue to practice meditation, and it will come through. You'll be shocked because when I was meditating, all of a sudden I got this voice come through and saying, "Debbie, can you hear me?" And just even with earphones on, I thought, "Oh my God, you're talking to me through my earphones."
And what's nice about that is it's clairaudience, so it's actual voice. Now I can say that I've done that like several times. Right, the first time was with my grandmother, and it's still telepathic, so it's still it's still your thoughts, but it's in English language, right? No.
Yeah.
For you, so for you, it's not even telepathic. It's completely just audible.
He talks to me normally. I have another incident. I was sitting in the back garden. This happened a couple of weeks back. I was sitting in the garden and I could smell this really, really strong perfume. And I thought, who's here? And a lady's voice in an Italian accent said, Joanna. And I thought, I don't know a Joanna. And then she said, you should do. It's your husband's grandmother.
Oh, wow. So but you didn't know at the time that her name was Joanna?
No, I never met his grandparents because they were already dead.
Oh my! So, oh wow! So that's really confirming. It's like it removes any doubt, doesn't it?
She said she's very proud of me. She's very proud that you love my grandson. I still do. You never forget your first love.
Yeah, of course. All right, so
Nice.
I got to ask you one more topic because we talked about this on Facebook Messenger, and I promised I would bring it up. So a lot of people like come into like this channel or Facebook, whatever. Like, there's a lot of hang-ups about the very controversial topic of sex.
Are you?
And sometimes
you're talking about sex.
Yeah, and some people say that it is either forbidden or doesn't occur after you cross over. And how do you feel about
what a load of rubbish? It's real. You feel it's real. I mean, as I was saying to you on Messenger, because I said to you that, oh no, it's not evil and it's not an incubus. It's him. He's there. He was there this morning, and it happened this morning.
And would you describe these as astral experiences, or are they like semi?
No. I feel his presence there. I feel him laying on top of me.
I see. So basically, it's you and your physical body, and him and his astral body, and it's just
exactly the same.
It's meshing together.
it feels the same.
And so that's been an ongoing thing. And without being too like specific, you've had physical evidence on your body as well from these experiences. No?
Yes.
Yes.
And bodily fluid.
So to speak. Well, there you go. I said without being too specific, but you went there, not me. So there you go. All right. No, so I really those are really some of the points I wanted to touch on. So I know you've had a lot of other interesting experiences and a lot of neat stuff, but I thought it's really interesting to talk about, especially like the physical signs of interaction coming from that side to here, because I've heard these stories from other people. I've never experienced it, but it's very interesting, the idea that I'm
I
sorry.
need to write a book.
Yeah. I mean, you should probably write a book. But yeah, I think that's one of those things that would kill it for any skeptic. If you have an if you have an astral experience and then you come back into your body and there's a mark or there's proof on your physical body, that also opens a whole can of worms about, what is the difference between this world and that world? Is there really that much of a difference? Are we so closely interconnected with that world that we're having experiences there that are literally coming back to us here in this world and just like blending and meshing together? And then we go into the concepts about just how like physical the astral physical world is.
Where they say that spirits only, these silly ghost hunting programs, where they say you go out in the middle of the night to go and do ghost hunting so you get more activity. My husband's not like that. He's more active during the day than he is at night.
Well, don't you think he'd be a bit offended to be called a spook, wouldn't he? Right? I mean, like, I think a lot of these these are just people living on that side. Now, but maybe there is something to like people who become spooks or identify as ghosts. I don't know, but certainly it's not the majority of people who are just living on that side. They're not spooks living in graveyards, but
they don't stay in their graveyard.
No, of course not. I mean, they're just. I mean,
they visit their families.
I mean, they're just the flip side. It's the astral counterpart. So I want to ask you one more thing. I don't know if you have any ideas about this, but there's been oftentimes a lot of confusion because, like, I don't know if you've ever had one, or do you ever read about like near-death experiences, right?
I died twice.
Oh, really? So you had near-death experience?
Yes, I was giving birth to my first husband's daughter. I was 6 months pregnant, and I lost her. They took her away, and I found myself floating on the ceiling. And the second time was giving birth to my first husband's son, who's alive now, 20. Had to have an emergency cesarean. The cord was around his neck 3 times, and there was 2 knots in it, so we both nearly died.
Oh my goodness! And so, did you also have an NDE from that experience?
Yeah.
And
I lost a lot of blood.
Wow. Where did you go? What happened?
I went up and see. Well, no, he was alive. It was my nan and granddad came and saw me and told me,
I'm sorry.
"No, you're not going to die. You'll come back."
And so when you had that experience, was that similar to like the astral experiences? Like,
exactly the same.
Exactly. So the NDE was exactly the same. As the astral experiences. And that's actually a really interesting point to bring up, because what I was going to say is a lot of people have a difficult time reconciling between like astral experiences and near-death experiences, because a lot of people, like, there's a lot of popular authors that report near-death experiences as being this completely like non-physical and very like kind of LSD style or DMT style trip, going into like incomprehensible dimensions of existence and places beyond comprehension. And so people sometimes get an interpretation that that's what it's really like to die, and that somehow all these other experiences must not be the real McCoy.
When my first husband was killed, my grandfather, who was an army man, my nan, and my eldest daughter came and see him at where he was, and basically, to put it bluntly, he said, "Who the fuck are you?" And they just took him. He even said that film No Solar, which is Astral City, is exactly what he interpreted. He said he spent 3 months in spiritual hospital.
Wow, in a city that was kind of like No Solar.
Yeah.
And so just like, yeah, the scene in No Solar where they have like there's like a hospital type room or a hospital type
Yeah,
place with the technology.
exactly.
Yeah, and
I said to him,
I'm sorry, go on.
I said to him, "Have you still got the scars?" No.
No. And okay, so he was in like an astral hospital. I've also seen a similar environment as well. And No Solar is an accurate depiction of that. And then they released him from that hospital, and then
Yeah.
he just went back to Astral England.
Yeah.
Okay. Do they call it like Astral England? Like, what do they call it?
No.
Okay, so
No.
again, we're mining information out of you, Deb, because you have such a great connection. That's so I'm here. I'm chiseling away with a pickaxe. I'm getting information,
told,
and I think we just found like a gold nugget. So
if you wish to keep talking to me via Messenger, feel free. I do not mind.
no, of course,
I
wanted to get at the gold nugget we found. So when you communicate with them on that side, they don't call their side like when you're in England on that side, they're not like, this is Astral England. What do they call it? They just call it the same as here?
The same. It's the same.
Okay. So they don't have so we're the ones who attach these labels like Astral or whatever.
Exactly, yes.
And that's something I've had to like reconcile with, because when I'm astral projecting, I'm the one over there saying, "Oh my God, am I in astral whatever?" And then they're like,
"No."
"Sure,"
I mean, you speak to your mum and dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember you saying that you're in the same. You seem to go to the same hotel room and etc. etc.
No, well, sometimes hotels. I have to sniff a parallel life there where I appear in different places, including Astral London. But a lot of times, so I've been to basically the home I grew up in, which was long torn down here, but it still exists there, and that's where I see my parents.
Yeah.
But it is interesting because I'm the one coming to them when I'm having those experiences and being like, "This is Astral Arizona," and
you're having in other words, you're having an astral holiday.
Yeah, basically. Oh, sometimes yes, I'm having astral holidays. When I'm not having astral holidays, I'm appearing in the house. But I guess what I'm saying is I think that they're confused when we're using terms like astral, because I think we're the ones using all that, and to them, they don't think of Astral London as Astral London. They think of it as London.
I just think it's London.
But in your experience, do they call it anything? Or do they call this side anything? Like, how do they differentiate? What do they call this world?
The Earth plane, I suppose.
Bingo! That's exactly it. That's exactly what I've heard them call it. So when I've had the astral experiences, like, they don't call it Astral London. To them, that's London. But they might look at me and say, "Oh, wow! So you're from the Earth plane, London, for example."
Yeah.
And so that's the terminology that I've heard in my experiences. Yeah. So that's fun. So that like matches up with
what you're. Yeah.
Well, nice. All right. So really cool stuff. So we definitely have some matching experiences to corroborate. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, we have a bunch of patrons in the chat. I'm going to turn it over to those guys. But real quick, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, this is Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. We do a lot of lectures by myself. We bring in guests like Deb. If you want to get involved, you can become a patron yourself by supporting this channel. You're supporting ongoing afterlife research and work that I'm doing, as well as others in this community, and really helps out. So if you want to become a patron, you can do so at patreon.com/afterlife topics, or you can just subscribe to the channel and maybe share this video, and that really helps as well. So I'm going to open it up to the patrons and see if anybody wants to chat with Deb here or have any questions or topics they want to bring up. So I'm going to check the chat first, see if anybody has anything they want to say. Sunday. Sunday, it looks like you had some questions, but I wasn't really checking the chat while I was talking, so I didn't get to those questions. Sunday, do you want to ask your question now?
Sure, I have a couple. Thank you for sharing your story, by the way. And I know it's a lot of intimate information, and it's really helpful for those of us like myself who don't have experiences to glean a little bit. My first question is, your husband that has passed, and I'm terribly, terribly sorry, by the way. But your husband and the others that you have seen in the astral realm, are they aware that they have died?
Yes.
Okay, so they're all aware of it. They've accepted it. They know they're not living in a dreamlike state. They know that they lived on Earth and that time is over.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a loved one that has passed who's very close to me. Do you have any abilities to get in touch with my loved one?
Yes, but I would need to do some serious meditation to do it. But yes.
Well, that would be wonderful. I've gone to a lot of mediums before, and they've all been wonderful people, but I have not had as much success with everybody.
The bit of advice I can give you, and this is advice from a world famous physical medium called Kai. I can't pronounce his surname, he's German. He said, you do not need a medium for you to communicate with loved ones. You can do it yourself.
I've tried. I spend at least an hour or so a day on meditation.
Do you use binaural beats?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Do you use binaural beats, the earth frequencies? It will
I have used binaural beats a lot, actually. And I use Jürgen Ziwi has a meditation called Om, and I've used that too.
I've got one that's really, really good. It will put you in a right hypnotic state. You can find it on YouTube Music. It's the Om sound with binaural beat frequencies, but it's got shamanic drums. It's very good.
Could you give that exact link to Cyrus? Because I've used the from Jürgen.
Yes, I will. I will send it to him via Messenger.
Okay, yeah, then I'll put that. I'll definitely share that with you Sunday. I'll post it on the Facebook group for this interview. Okay, did anyone else want to talk or ask Deb anything?
I do.
Let's see. Okay. Yeah, Teresa, right? Yeah, feel free.
Yes. Okay. I understand that he has PTSD, and I believe that in the hospitals on the other side. I've seen Astral City. Great movie. Is he getting help for the PTSD and counseling and things like that? I've heard that they can do that.
I don't know. I'll have to ask him when he comes home.
Aww.
I normally, when he comes home, I normally smell Calvin Klein's CK1 or Calvin Klein's.
That smells good.
Or even disgusting cheesy feet. He doesn't wear socks. He haven't worn socks since when he was in the army.
Sounds like my son.
Bolting. But when he does come home, I normally feel him because it's icy cold. Or I feel him touching my face or playing with my hair. Ask him, but I don't think he has got any help. I think to comfort him, because I'm sort of an empath as well, and I can feel his PTSD, which is not very nice.
Yeah.
I feel him when he's sad, and he feels me when I'm sad. The connection is so powerful that we've been together for 3 lifetimes.
I think that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Let's see. I'll get to Sunday. I see another question, Sunday. Let me real quick see if anyone else wanted to ask Deb anything. Barbara, your hand is up there. Sorry, I didn't see it.
That's
Barbara.
okay. That's okay. I wanted to ask the question I asked the other day that you suggested that I could ask, Deb, and that is about the soul entering the body. And many mediums and others say that the soul doesn't actually enter a child's body until it's born. And so if a child is stillborn, or if a child is born way ahead of time, does that child still have a soul? The idea is that they say is that there's no soul in the body until the first breath of life, and that there may be candidates for souls during the pregnancy, but that it isn't decided finally until the child actually breathes. What do you think about that? Because you're talking about a child who miscarried, and yet is definitely a soul in the afterlife.
She has a soul, yeah. She's very intelligent. Actually, there's 5 up there. They're very intelligent.
And it's the same with my daughter.
So, do we know, Deb, do you have any idea about how they appeared on that side? So, if it was if they were lost at birth here, do they just like appear, get taken care of by a relative, or do you know anything about that?
When I lost my daughter, my nan and granddad looked after her until her dad died. It was my nan who named her.
Oh, okay.
She goes to school. She's really intelligent. There's school.
Right. Yeah. Of course. But so the question is, so here's you might not know the answer to this question because we're getting really, getting really out to sea at this point. But
yeah.
What do you know about, like, okay, if someone is a baby, basically, they incarnate, they come here as a baby, but what if they've had other lives? Why would they cross over and be a baby on that side and not just appear on that side as Wilbert Henry VI from the 1600s?
I do not know.
I guess that's a tough question. I guess that's a mystery, huh? Do you think that they know? Like, if you propose that question, would they have an answer, or is this stuff that just nobody knows what the hell's going on?
I don't think it's I think it's a question that nobody knows.
Maybe higher powers or higher realms of existence,
higher
right?
Realm. Yeah.
Would you do you think it's fair to people will, like, I've heard people categorize like the astral earth that's so similar to this world. They say, oh, that's like this low realm, low vibration, a true exalted realm. Everyone is floating and everyone looks like flying purple hexagons or something, and everything looks like a big lava lamp, and everything is colors, and it's a hyper dimension, and that's the real afterlife, and the astral plane is like this low vibration. What do you think about people who keep saying that kind of stuff?
Ridiculous.
Oh, okay. Because some people, they really feel like it's kind of a hierarchy, right? So we go to one type of realm, and then we need to like get out of there as quickly as possible and move up to the next best one. Kind of like moving up the corporate ladder. Trying to get the best position possible in a company. But in this case, it's the multiverse. So I don't know. So I wanted to throw that one out there. We have some other questions here. I wanted to see. I think. Sorry, I know I look awkward on camera because I'm like bending my neck down. I'm bending my neck down to look at the laptop. Laptop's on the bed, camera's on a tripod on the bed frame, and so
same situation.
Is that Michael? Is that you?
Yeah.
For a second, I thought the top hat was like one of those filters on
my
a phone.
My neighbor just came out and put it on me. He said, "You can't go on." And I was muted and I forgot on Zoom how to flip the damn camera. And my neighbor, everybody's doing teleconferencing now, but I don't use Zoom that much. I use StreamYard. So I'm like, how do I flip the damn camera? And she's like, here, but put your damn top hat on.
I wanted to bring you on as a guest wearing the top hat, but we won't tell anyone who you are. And they can
but let me shave and like be ready for Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Let's ask someone else, Charles Dickens.
I,
Love
I
it. Love it.
I have a couple questions. I mean, if no one else has anything.
People may, but I got you on the floor, so if you want to throw stuff out there, feel free.
So, the first thing is, my grandfather, he had Parkinson's as well. So I want to thank you for coming out and talking about that. And again, this is when I was a kid and I didn't understand what it was, and it was very frustrating for me to see because he would have to walk very slow, and people people are just in a rush, and people are very they don't want to wait for anybody. So I was, as a kid, would always be his protector. I'd be next to him and walking with him. I didn't quite understand what it was or what Parkinson's was or anything, but I would get very angry at people who would just like go ahead and be frustrated that he was like moving, because his steps became very small and slow, like shuffle, 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 rather than a regular gait or a regular walk. So I just want to mention that and thank you. My question is this: so you consider yourself a medium. One of my biggest wonders is I've had tons of experience with what you would call afterlife metaphysics, all this stuff. But when does one when do you say I'm a medium? What is the threshold where you declare that? I'm curious.
I was born with it.
I think we're all born with it, but what makes you say I am rather than another person who sees something goes, oh, I better keep this, I better keep this secret. People are going to think I'm crazy.
I've been called crazy.
Oh, I'm sure everyone in this group has.
I've been put in a psych ward because of it.
But when did you where did you get the term medium, and when did you say I am a medium? I'm just curious about that.
I've called myself a medium just recently, but because I've been told by other mediums that you've got a gift, you have the gift of hearing. So I thought, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, clairaudience, which is actually a specific style of mediumship, which is actually a little bit rare, and it's a really powerful one.
Clairaudience is the rarer one, because you've got different ones. You have clairvoyance, which means you can see, or you can see the future and you can see spirits. Clairaudient is you can hear them. Clairsentient is you feel them. Clairscent is you smell them.
How does smell? Yeah, I was just going to say smell.
There's clairaugustum, which means you can taste. They're the 5 ones sort of mediumship. And then there's the physical.
Where does the word mediumship come from? Does anyone, Cyrus, do you know that? Anyone, where does that originate from?
Well, I mean, mediumship, of course,
or mediums, however.
Because we can use the word medium for things not related to this. Obviously, like what is the art medium that you use? What is the medium of whatever that right? So I guess it must have just been co-opted into using it for this region, but who knows? I mean, probably if you go back to the early days of, obviously there's always been mediums, but in the 1800s is when people began coming out into the open about it, and that's when probably a lot of terminologies and a lot of things changed in the 1800s, but who knows?
So is it interchangeable, like medium, psychic?
I would say no. Deb?
They're all different.
What's the difference between a psychic and a medium?
Psychic can tell you the full future. Mediums speak to spirits.
So a psychic is tapped into a different stream, and a medium is tapped into entities?
Spirit world, yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
Psychic can be tapped into not even a specific entity. I mean, a psychic could be just using their inner guidance to, or maybe ability, maybe even like clairvoyance for that matter. Or we could even argue, I guess, I don't think they define themselves this way, but remote viewing is a psychic ability. To project their consciousness is going someplace else and bringing back information.
Yeah.
hopefully accurate. All right, let me see who else has any questions or anything else they want to talk about in the chat.
I just had a real quick one.
Let's see. Is
This is
that
Dee.
Dee? Hey, Dee.
Hey, I just have a real quick one. First of all, Deb, thank you so much for sharing. Much appreciated. I just wonder, have they ever shared, or has he ever shared reflection with you of what they feel like the meaning of the earthly existence is?
Well, my husband says to me that he prefers it over there than he preferred it where I am.
He would prefer to be here?
No, he does want to come back, yes.
But
why?
Wants a visitation, wants to see me.
Okay.
Otherwise, otherwise he prefers it there. You said.
Prefers it there.
But what about any idea about the purpose of why he was here first, and does anyone over there have any clue about any of this? Because in my experiences astrally, they don't have a clue. Have you had any?
No.
Have you had a different experience?
No.
Yeah.
No, I haven't had any different experiences. I suppose it's similar to you.
Yeah.
It's like when we were talking about the coronavirus the other day, when you were saying your parents hadn't got a clue what's going on. I said, nor had mine, apart from mine told me that there was going to be so many thousand going to die in the UK, and he was right.
Wow, I heard that from others as well, who spirit side predicted all the pandemic. So that's actually I'm aware of like several different places where it was predicted, but yeah, in my experiences, yeah, they don't. But wait, I did have an experience where I was told, and I have to go through my notes again to find it, that they had coronavirus on that side, and but it's not like a big deal because things like viruses are a big deal here. So there are people wearing masks and things on that side, but it's like it's not going to have the same effect it does here because it's a different existence.
Someone said, I don't know if you know of him because I know him as a fraud, Mr. Stephen Huff.
I'm aware of him and aware of a lot of conversations about him being a fraud. Yes.
Yeah, he is a fraud. Even my husband said that, don't like him. When I started following him on Patreon and doing his group readings, I thought, what a load of rubbish. And then all of a sudden he came through with a message through the box saying, your brain has been shot, which was a macabre message, but it was him. And then he said, I don't like him, he's a fraud.
Mm-hmm. And but how is that related to coronavirus?
He was talking about, Steve was saying that they can't get ill. There's no such thing as colds or flus or illnesses when there is.
Interesting. So what do you know about that? Because, yeah, first of all, I'm always very wary when I hear people talking about that side in absolute terms, because we're talking about the whole multiverse. And so when people say, yes, there is no pain, there is no negative emotions, and everyone lives on a cloud, I get very weary of that. Now, what I know about that is that what they've told me is that there's minor illnesses that affect what we call the astral body. So basically up to a cold or a small flu.
It's just a cold.
Exactly. That's what I was told astrally. But of course, anything above that wouldn't affect them. So there's no cancers, or there's no debilitating illnesses. There's just like
there's no cancer or any kind of illnesses like that. No, it's just you can just have a cold.
That's so fun. It's so funny to hear that corroborated through somebody else, because that's exactly what I was told on multiple occasions.
I had an incident with being told that my eldest daughter was really poorly with the cold, and he was telling me that he was sitting in the doctor's surgery waiting for the doctor to prescribe her medication.
Yeah, and it sounds wacky, but
it's not.
But it's just that that vibration is close to being as physical as this one enough that some things leak through, but I think that there's a limit upon it. So like a virus is a tiny organism energy system, and they can there's still that they seem to still perpetuate on that side, but it's less physical enough that they're not like illnesses affecting your astral
So it's not
form, so
it's
it's
not
like it's
detrimental
yeah,
because they
exactly.
can't die.
Yeah, exactly. So they can't die. I personally, because I'm a weirdo, I prefer it
No,
this
you're
way
not.
because sometimes, if I get a cold, let's say I'm really working myself too hard and whatever, I'm really busy, and then suddenly I get a cold, and for me it's such a therapeutic thing because I have to take time out and take care of myself for a little while,
Yeah.
and then and then I'm happy again. Now of course I caught COVID-19 in March, and that was a little bit more of an extended cold, and that was a little bit tougher.
Did you get it?
I prefer just the normal colds and leave it at that, but right. But
I don't think he got it. I think he got some biological damage.
yeah, but I think you're in the conspiracy territory.
I know I am going out there. I am. I'll admit, but from there's a lot of like straight edge doctors who are not into any of this. They would look at this and call us all kooks, who are don't believe viral theory, but that's another
Well,
thing.
we've just been blacklisted by YouTube, and that is going to be like Men in Black at my door tomorrow. So thanks a lot.
Oh, did I say? Damn it! I'm sorry. The words. I'm the words. Just can you mute it when you can you edit?
Yeah,
this?
I might just
I'm
put
sorry.
in beeps or
I
something.
I forgot that you put this to YouTube. I'm sorry.
No worries. I'll figure it out.
I do that all the time to myself. I screw it up.
But anyways, yeah, all right, so it is past the hour a bit, so I want to see, does anyone else have any more?
Yeah, I do. I've been waiting.
Oh yeah, please. Wait, who do we have? Keely, right? Hey.
Yes, I was wondering, Deb, thank you for sharing your story, and I'm so sorry. How long after your husband passed did you start hearing him? Did it take a long time?
No. I could hear him straight away.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay. All right.
But it was only basically a whisper, because what I used to, because I got married again. He forgives me for getting married again. I used to clean my teeth while I was in the bathroom. I'd be cleaning my teeth, and all of a sudden I hear as if someone was behind me saying, "Debbie, I love you," and I've got electric toothbrush going on. I thought, what's going on? So I stopped electric toothbrush. I can't hear anything. Start cleaning my teeth with electric toothbrush. Could hear it again. Stopped again. Opened the bathroom door and shout out to other husband. I says, "Did you say anything?" No. So, yes.
Huh. Do you think people's sadness, like, say Sunday, she's been trying to get in contact with her daughter, and, do you think that maybe gets in the way sometimes?
Any kind of sadness or negativity will keep your loved ones away.
Okay. All right.
They won't come.
How can you not be sad?
Yeah. I was ill over the weekend. I was ill in January, and I had a real bad, severe ear infection, and it was affecting my clairaudience. I couldn't hear anybody, and I was going into panic mode and very negative. And I was using my digital voice recorders to get EVPs. Was getting no replies from no one. Negativity will not bring anybody in.
That's interesting. So maybe.
Sunday, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I thank you, Keely, for asking her that. It's hard because how can you not be sad? I don't feel negative. So like, I don't have any dark, non-loving feelings out there. So for anybody, I'm very lucky to just think of people in a very positive way. I can't take credit for it. I just love people, and I can just see the goodness of people. So I'm really blessed with that opportunity to have that. However, I am absolutely devastated and absolutely distraught over my daughter being gone. I know she exists. I don't have the experience like everyone else does, but I know it. But I can't just turn that off. But I'm very open. I meditate. And when I meditate, I just imagine hugging her, loving her. I imagine pouring like this stream of white love all around her. So I try to make my experiences when I'm meditating or trying to project unsuccessfully a very positive thing. It's not surrounded with guilt, or I don't go over her death or any of that. So I don't know if there's any other tips that might...
Give yourself time. As you said, you meditate. Eventually your clear hearing might come in, but if you want to try and communicate with her, in technical side is purchase yourself on eBay a good old-fashioned digital voice recorder.
I've done that. So it's interesting that I cannot hear her. I don't have the gift of hearing when I've taped, and I'll listen to the tape, I'll slow-mo the tape, I'll do everything 1,000 times. I can't hear a thing, but I've given it my tape to like Craig Hogan and some other people. They come back and they say, oh, look, this is said. I still can't even hear a darn thing, but they can hear it.
Well, that means to start, doesn't it? Which means you maybe need to just keep doing it again and again and again and again until they get better at it. Until your daughter gets better at it.
Don't give up.
Oh, I won't. My last dying breath, I'm never, ever giving up on her. I'm never giving up on that. I know it's probably a defect in me. I can feel that she is trying hard, and whatever defect in me, I have to overcome it so that I can be open to everything she's trying to do. I know she's trying to communicate. It's just me.
No, maybe, like Sunday, I don't think it, like, maybe just because it's so close to your heart, and you don't doubt, but you worry about her, even worrying might, I don't know. And I don't know how you can't worry. I mean, I would be worrying and all sorts, of course. So I just wondered for you. I don't know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm just one of many billions of people over the lifetimes of all lifetimes that have suffered. So I am certainly not a unique case. Some people can handle it differently. And I there's this guy called Seth Reeds, and it's funny because a lot of what she's saying today, he's reading these near-death experiences, and it's some of it's very similar to what she's saying today. But once like her and Cyrus and Barbara and all of you that have had these experiences, it's a knowing. I think it changes your life to know, and not just believe or think, but to know.
To know, absolutely.
Well, guys, with that, I think I'm probably going to go to sleep soon. It's well past 2 a.m. and I'm just on auxiliary power at the moment. So, but I will leave the room open, of course, so anyone can stay in the room and chat if you want to chat. But I am going to bow out at this point.
Yeah, so am I.
So, Deb, thank you for coming
Deb.
out and
you're welcome.
Sharing your experiences. And
I'm going because my Parkinson's disease is. I've got bad shakes.
No worries, Deb. We wish you the best with that. And
Deb, thank you so much.
Keep in touch.
Thank you so much. Yes.
And
much appreciated.
Don't forget that link, Cyrus, to get that link from Deb, please.
Okay. Thanks again, Deb. I hope to see you around the Afterlife Topics community. And I guess with that, as always, you guys watching on YouTube, thanks for staying around and watching this. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this discussion. A lot of really interesting stuff that was covered. And of course, you can also
watch it rolling in.
I'm sorry, what?
I said, watch all the critics rolling in.
Yeah. Every now and then we get a smart ass every now and then, but for the most part, the comments
comes with the territory.
The comments are quite decent, actually. The YouTube comments are one of the communities. So we have the Reddit group, the YouTube comments, the Facebook group, and also the comments on the website. But these are all different discussion communities, and they're all actually, often very interesting. Sometimes the YouTube comments are some of the most interesting. But anyway, so let us know. Really nice. Let us know in the comments, and you can get involved yourself. Thanks for watching Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics the YouTube channel if you're watching it on YouTube. And I guess that's it. I am going to go to sleep because I'm now just mumbling and not making any sense. And so
Egyptian story part 2.
It's-
Egyptian story part 2.
Wait, Egyptian story part 2. Oh, well, I could try to talk about the Egyptian stuff, but then I will just be rambling and falling asleep.
All right, another time.
Okay, I'm out of here. All right, see you
Good
guys.
night. Sleep tight.
Leave eating, and I'm going
Bye,
to
guys.
give it to
Sunday.
you, Michael.